That was a fantastic pilot. Full stop. This show has me so interested, enamored, captured. Like I'm fully captured by this DCU project called Lanterns on HBO Max. Holy cow. That was a great way to start a television show. Welcome in, everybody. My name is Strez. This is your first time here on the channel. We basically just talk about geek shit. So if that's stuff that you're interested in, Star Wars, Game of Thrones, Lanterns, anything DC, anything Marvel, all that kind of stuff, click the subscribe button. That's why you're here. You should stay here. That's for free. But let's get right into it. We're going to be doing these weekly reactions, not recap reaction reviews, mostly reaction, because I'm not a smart person. I just like to react to cool stuff. So we'll be doing this weekly every single Sunday after one of these episodes finishes, and episode 1 is in the books. First, before we get into it, let me know in the comment section what you guys think about episode 1, the pilot of DCU's Lanterns on HBO Max. And on top of that, what is the most unethical way that you would use your ring if you had one? That is actually something I'm very curious about, because obviously Hal Jordan is not opposed to using it to counterfeit money and put it into a jukebox to annoy a bunch of dudes at a bar who were shooting pool. That scene was actually pretty funny. I thought this whole episode, there was some good, I laughed several times. And I think that's an important piece of these types of shows. Like, obviously, this is a much more intense drama type superhero thing. I say thing, show, TV. Obviously, movies, TV. Obviously, we've gotten several, 2 DC movies so far. Superman, Supergirl, the 2 big ones out of the way. We've also gotten Peacemaker, which is not very serious at all. And this is probably the most serious of all of the projects so far that we've gotten from James Gunn's DCU, which I think it landed well. I think it was necessary for this show. I think the tone works. I think it really does. I think a lot of people were hesitant to watch this show because they thought the tone was going to be weird or too gritty to be like a DC comic book TV show. But I completely disagree with that. I honestly think that it actually works pretty well, in my opinion. I think it works really well, but they sprinkled in enough comedic relief in various places where it was definitely necessary. And it wasn't even like in your face comedy, right? Like there were the moments where Hal Jordan is just being an arrogant asshole, which is very much Hal Jordan. But there's also the moment when John Stewart is helping the boy throw the football through the tire, and he turns around and the boy's grandma happens to be the woman that he, got within his truck. It's things like that that I think are kind of funny. That, it's obviously a bit of irony that is being used by the writers in this show. And I think it worked really well. I think there was a lot of that in this. And I think probably my favorite part of the show that was like something that kind of made me laugh a little bit was when Hal Jordan was interrogating the alien that we did find out about at the end of the episode, when he was interrogating him and was trying to figure out, like, you are an alien. You are the worst version of, of course you don't know where Harry Potter went to high school or went to school. Like, that makes, I've actually never thought about things like that, right? Like, if someone is going to be like impersonating someone or using someone's identity or trying to make people think that they are something that they are not, they're going to know the specifics of that person and things that that person would be interacting with, but they won't know like the general knowledge that the person would or should have in any given situation. So I thought that was a pretty decent interrogation tactic from Hal Jordan to kind of figure out, is this guy an alien? Is he not an alien? Well, he knew the whole time, obviously, and he's so sure of himself. Man, Kyle Chandler, I think he has done a really great job of playing an older Hal Jordan. I can't think of a time when, obviously, I haven't read every single Green Lantern comic. I haven't watched every single animated series or everything, those types of things. But I can't think of a time when we've gotten like an aging Hal Jordan who is like on his way out and about to be replaced by the next Green Lantern for Earth's sector. I think he's doing a really good job of that. And Aaron Pierre, as Jon Stewart, I think is a fantastic casting just from what we saw in, the first, 60 minutes of this TV show. I thought they did a really great job. Obviously, we still are going to see Guy Gardner in future episodes. I don't know if you stuck around after the credits rolled at the end of the episode to catch kind of the sizzle reel for all the stuff that's going to be coming up at the end or throughout this season. But it was really good. I think we are in for a treat with this Lantern show throughout the entirety of this season. I think another piece that I think a lot of people were kind of hesitant about with this show was like the lack of the color green, which makes total sense. But Ring itself was used twice by three times by Jon Stewart, and 4 or 5 times by Hal Jordan in this show. So we saw it between 7 and 8, almost between 7 to 9 times. The ring was used in this episode. And, Hal Jordan is talking about it at the bar. He's like, you got to know when and how to use it. And I'm like, okay, well, it was used several times in the span of a 60-minute episode of television, which is obviously the span of 48 hours, as we were so pointed out by that alien who obviously knows how the rings work, which is kind of crazy. He obviously knows, he has a pretty decent knowledge of like the Green Lantern Corps, which I thought was actually a really cool addition to that like intro into the aliens. I wonder though, was he obviously, the big exciting piece about this show is going to be the Manhunters. Was he one of them, or are the Manhunters there because his alien species is there? That's going to be something that I'm going to be excited to learn like throughout this show. And somebody might know more than I know about all of these things, but I don't know that he was, right? And obviously there's a lot of characters that are going to be at play throughout the season. We were introduced to the sheriff's husband, who happens to be a defense attorney, which I think is the craziest partnership I've ever seen in my entire life. And then the lawyer, his dad, is like this rancher, which, by the way, I don't understand the ages of the characters in this show. Did the guy who was the sheriff lady's father-in-law not look like he could also have been her husband's age? I'm so confused. And like the woman that Aaron Pierre got with, I forget what she said that her name was, that man's husband or that man's wife, she did not look like she is old enough to be a grandma of a kid who's playing Pee Wee football. I don't know. I don't understand the aging in this stuff, but also it's Nebraska, so who the hell knows how things function out there. But I think, man, I'm hooked. I am hooked. If a pilot's job is to pique a person's interest enough, much so that they will absolutely be coming back for episode 2 and so on in the first season of the show, this first episode of Lanterns knocked it out of the park. I'm excited to see where the story goes. Obviously, it ended with a bang, like a really big bang. I was totally caught off guard by the time jump, another 10 years to 2026, present day, and them to see Hal Jordan dead in the bleachers at that football stadium, and Jon Stewart shedding a tear for him. Obviously, their relationship kind of grew over that 10-year period, and I don't know what we're going to see and what we're not going to see. Are we going to see the entirety of that decade? Are we going to, what is it going to look like? He didn't have a ring on his finger. I'm sure Jon Stewart was like looking for that. I don't know what he's been doing for those 10 years. So I don't know if we're going to get a chance to see all of that in this television show, in season 1 of this television show. But I do feel like they'll do a good job of making sure that we're kept up to date with the entirety of like everything going on in their relationship and in the time frame and the timeline and all of that kind of stuff. I thought it was really interesting how they were constantly talking about like off-world lives and aliens and all that kind of stuff, because in James Gunn's Superman, it said, and this came out last year, and they're using like those years. It said 30 years ago, a Kryptonian landed, or an alien landed in a small farm in Kansas. And then 3 years ago, Superman revealed himself to the world. So if it would have been 3 years before 2025, it would have been 2022. They are there because of off-world alien threats. I wonder what the first interaction between Hal L, Clark Kent, and Hal Jordan, John Stewart looked like, how that went. I'm very curious about that. And the guy who runs the ranch, the Macon guy, I forget what his first name was. He obviously does not like the fact that there is a potential of alien races being on Earth either. So obviously, I wonder if that somehow is connected to the Lex Luthor of it all and try to get rid of these aliens, specifically the Krypton. Like, I don't know what that entails. And to me, you know, like, I think this is a fair thing to say. This is a fair assumption. The DC universe revolves around Superman. It always will. It's Superman and Batman, obviously, but we don't have a Batman yet in the DCU. So right now, everything is revolving around Superman. And so I wonder, like, how that interaction goes, how much of this is also kind of used to give us a little bit of like a, not proxy, but like a buffer period, a buffer zone for them also wanting to deal with like Kryptonians and potentially Martians and, you know, all of the different alien species that could be landing on Earth, you know, throughout the 10 years between 2016 when Hal Jordan went, or not 2016, 1996. So I guess it would have been like 30 years. 1996 when Hal Jordan goes public to 2026 when Hal Jordan is found dead in the bleachers and John Stewart is, you know, time for him to take over. You know, I'm really curious what that looks like. I feel like there's a lot there. I feel like there's a lot that they could work with there. But yeah, all in all, this show, this first episode, 5 stars. Great job from the writer and director. Great job from the cast. Great job from just everybody involved. That was a fantastic pilot for a television show. I'm hooked. I was going to watch the whole season anyways, but now that I know it's going to be great, I am very much excited to watch the rest of the first season of Lanterns on HBO Max from DCU. Let me know what you guys think about Lanterns in the comments section below. And like I said at the beginning of the video, what is the most unethical way that you would use your ring if you had one? I'm very curious to know what you guys would do and how freaking crazy some of you guys are. But yeah, click that subscribe button on the way out, drop a like, and I will catch you guys in the next one. Enjoy your dinner.